Hey everyone, Bruce Heffel here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that's come up a couple times actually in the last few weeks. I've been working with a couple of executives, a couple of people who are a little new to the leadership role, so I wanted to cover it. It has to do with role or style flexibility, and I thought it would be an important topic to cover. So style flexibility or role flexibility, this is something that it's really important, I think, in order to get leadership, to get management right. And what we're talking about is the ability to use different techniques, use different styles in different situations, depending on the circumstances, depending on who you're dealing with, based on their skills, their capabilities for an individual or a team, and the idea that as a leader, as a manager, having a tool set, having a couple of different ways that you can approach situations, and figuring out what is going to be the best way to handle the situation and use different styles based on the context is a really important one. What I typically find is people that are new-ish to the either management or leadership or executive roles typically become slightly over-reliant on one particular way of approaching situations. And it sometimes takes some time and usually some deliberate effort to develop some other ways of approaching these things or handling different situations. And it's something I really encourage executives to do fairly early in the process, because to be overly dependent on one particular style, it's kind of the old fable of when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and sometimes you don't need nails, or sometimes you don't have a nail situation and you don't need hammers. So making sure that you develop a good tool set. So from a management leadership point of view, I think there's a couple of different things that happen. The first one that I see typically comes up in terms of style is what I would call the directive style. Directive style basically means that you're telling people exactly what needs to get done, how it needs to get done, when it needs to get done by. You are directing activity. And there's certainly a time and place for that when time is short, that the stakes are high, that the cost for delay is significant. You don't want to be in a situation where people are waiting around or not getting things done. In those cases, using a directive style can be appropriate. I do find, however, that is commonly overused, sometimes extensively overused. And so I do caution people that if they tend towards a directive style, that it really is something they need to work on. One of the reasons that I think this comes up is that a lot of people in high growth companies where there's a lot of expansion, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of promotions. Oftentimes you take people who are very good individual contributors, very good experts in their area, in their domain. They know a lot, they know how to get it done, and they move them into management positions, and they naturally take on a directive style because they know, and typically they're the best people at it. They know the best way to get it done. They know the things to avoid. They know the process to use to avoid the mistakes, to produce a high quality product. And so, usually they're right. And that's the tough part, is that it's easy for them to fall into this directive mode. The problem is that if they're always in a directive mode, they're never really going to develop a team. They're really never going to develop capabilities. Honestly, they're probably not going to be a whole lot of fun to work with or work for. So, it is something that I really watch, and I really caution early new managers, executives, leaders, when they first kind of get into that role, is to check their natural directive style. So another style that I think is really important is what I call the inquisitive style. And that's really going into a situation, and it's a natural way to kind of get out of the directive style. So rather than telling people what to do, is you focus on asking questions. And we don't want to just ask any questions. We want to ask questions which are not necessarily leading questions where there's an obvious answer and you're being condescending, but a question that's really designed to provoke a sense of inquiry, a sense of curiosity in the people that I'm working with. Really help them get to think about something maybe a little bit differently, consider some alternatives they haven't considered. So that inquisitive style can be really powerful. Usually it's about asking kind of a key question. It's usually pretty short. It's usually designed to kind of provoke some thinking in some way. Again, be careful of the inquisitive style that's really just a slightly cloaked directive style. So no leading questions, no condescending questions, but really focus on asking something that does provoke thinking. Another style that I think is really important is the supportive style. So often you have a team who, or an individual who's doing quite well, who has a plan, who's got the right approach sort of lined up, set up, and they really just need support. They need resources, they need details, they need information maybe they don't have, and you just need to feed them and support them in the plan and the activities they already have. Supportive style can be really, really important and really effective when you see they really don't need any adjustment, they just need help getting it done. Another one that's around that, it's a little bit different, I call the encouragement style. And that's really where an individual or a team has a plan, they've got the resources, they know what to do, they've got their action steps. They lack the confidence, maybe the willpower to actually take action, to move forward. They're probably cautious, they're probably moving at too slow of a pace. The encouragement style for me is really helping them take action, promoting them to do something, removing uncertainty or risk that they feel around something, making it okay to fail can often be really important in this role. That style, the encouragement style, is really about getting them moving and getting them to take action and learn from that action so they can see progress and fuel that momentum by moving forward. There's several other styles. I mean, I get into, there's an article I'll post here below that goes through a couple other ones, but generally what we want to do is think about different ways you can approach the situation and getting good, developing the capacity, the muscle, the technique for being able to apply that style, and then developing that tool set. So in a given situation, you're not just stuck falling back into a natural style. Oftentimes when things get stressful or tense, you will naturally fall into those. So I always get people to think about when they notice the intensity of a situation or the stress of the situation going up, that they really check in with the style choice that they've made, and is that the best one, and push forward. We've got it's everyone's week off in the last week of summer here, so there's lots of kids running around. But think about those. Again, like I said, I'll post an article below. It's a really important topic. I think a lot of managers, a lot of executives, a lot of leaders don't think about this enough, and they do fall into kind of a trap around this. But the really good executives, I think really good managers, really good leaders, have figured out what their natural tendencies are and have developed other tools, other muscles they can flex given different situations. And you're not always going to get it right. Sometimes you go in with one style and you realize that wasn't the best choice, and you either need to try a different choice next time or change your style as you go into it. I've often found that, like, I'll get into an inquisitive mode and I'll realize that it's not questions, they really just need to get pushed in terms of momentum and encouragement. So check out the articles. I'd be happy to talk if people have questions. I would love comments on that. This is something that I do with a lot of leaders, both in my leadership team work. We'll work on this as a team in terms of understanding people's styles and getting feedback from each other on that. I also do that in my one-on-one executive coaching work, is really help executives understand where their natural styles are, where they potentially have some weaknesses or they tend to avoid, or styles they tend not to use, and we work on building up those muscles so that they have more options. And more options obviously generally result in better outcomes because you have more choices given situations. If you have any questions, email me at info@eckfeldt.com. Otherwise, I'll put the link down below and I'll look forward to your comments.